Astros and Marlins ready to go. This is game number 112 for the Fish, and our first look at the Houston Astros. The Astros are at 55 and 56. They have some great names on their roster and in their lineup. Here is the Astros lineup. Michael Bourne, the speedy center fielder. Kaz Matsui is at second base. Miguel Tejada is at shortstop. El Caballo, Carlos Lee in left field. Jeff Blum is hot right now. He's at third base. Hunter Pence is in right field. Pudge is back here in South Florida. He'll do the catching. Darren Erstad is at first base, and Brian Moeller is on the mound.
A couple of things to think about from Rick Vandenherk's perspective tonight. He's coming off a start against the Washington Nationals. Gave up 7 hits and 5 runs in his 4 innings. The home run ball hurt him. Zimmerman, Dunn, and Belliard took him deep. Talked to Mark Wiley. The shoulder wasn't up in the position he wanted to see it, and because it got down a little bit, he dragged, and that flattened out his slider, and his fastball wasn't pinpoint and as sharp as it had been in his previous 3 starts.
Marlins defensively tonight.
Take a look and see how the Fish line up with Coughlin, Cody Ross, Jeremy Hermida. What a play Hermida made in Philadelphia yesterday. Cantu, Nick Johnson at the corners. Hanley and Ugla have formed a good double play combination. Each have only made 8 errors this year. And John Baker is behind the plate.
All right, we can't go anywhere without checking in on the weather tonight. Partly cloudy. It feels like 98. Man, it's a hot and humid night here in South Florida. And the Astros step into that. The Marlins had very similar weather yesterday in Philadelphia. It was a muggy day, and the Marlins completed an emotional 3-game sweep over the first place Phils. So 4 out in the East, 3 out in the wild card. Vandenherk on the mound, and here we go. Michael Bourne, Kaz Matsui, and Miguel Tejada. Darrell Cousins says ball 1. He's behind home plate with Adrian Johnson at first base, Jim Joyce at second, and Bill Miller at third.
Jorge Cantu really trying to take the bunt away from Michael Bourne, playing in closely. He has 30 infield hits, and you talked about the speedster leading the league in stolen bases.
Vandenherk throws a strike. Bourne, the table setter for the Astros, a guy that as he's gotten more at bats in the big leagues has brought his average up. And Vandenherk, that little slider that he's incorporated, gets him strike 2. It's 2-2. And he punches out Michael Bourne.
Well, that's a nice way to start. He just said, here's some gas, and threw him fastball. The interesting concept about the Astros lineup, here's a guy with all the infield hits, bunt hits, leading the league in stolen bases. That's the 91st time he struck out. Now you have guys like Tejada and Carlos Lee, the big boppers. They rarely strike out.
You got Kaz Matsui who stands in. Matsui, who has been in the big league since he came over from Japan. Of course, a New York Met. 3 expensive years as a Met. Really found his stride as a Colorado Rocky, and he drills one foul.
And I think part of that, Rich, because he found his stride as a second baseman. The Mets had him as a shortstop, and it just didn't work out at that position for him.
Had a nice year last year with Houston, hit .293. Vandenherk misses up with a fastball. Vandy's last start, he didn't last long. 4 innings, 5 runs. The long ball bit him 3 times, 3 solo homers to that juggernaut known as the Washington Nationals.
Well, they're not going to win tonight because they're off.
Vandenherk misses, and Matsui, who can steal a base still, is aboard. Mark Wiley, Marlins pitching coach. Well, the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs of a veteran pitching coach and a young starter.
Well, and Mark Wiley takes it to heart. He is so close with his pitching staff. And the one thing with Vandenherk in his games against the Padres and the Dodgers and the Braves, he was out there with nice rhythm. He wasn't overthrowing. He was pitching. So a little overthrowing to Matsui and saw a lot of it in his last outing.
Tejada sprays one into right field. That's a base hit. Miguel Tejada has had quite a year. Many people thought he might be done after last year. His numbers really dropped off. Just 13 homers and 66 RBIs. He's already at 64 RBIs and 10 homers and up close to 320 now.
Well, leading the league in hits adds to that total. 143rd base hit. And these two guys back to back are a couple of guys, Tejada and Lee. Do not strike out, don't walk a whole lot, and when they see a pitch they like, they have good swings.
And remember, this is a star-studded lineup right now, and it's without Lance Berkman. And Berkman is hopeful that he'll be back for Game 3. He's on the disabled list right now with a calf injury.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks without Berkman, they've gone 5-10 in their last 15 games. So most of those without Lance Berkman.
El Caballo, one of those guys that you could just pencil in 100 RBIs every season. Vandenhert pumps in a fastball for a strike.
And you know what? You can almost pencil in 150 to 160 games. He's pointing out to the backdrop. There's something white, piece of paper, something on that backdrop that might be bothering Carlos Lee.
That wouldn't bother El Caballo, would it?
I don't think so.
Here's the 1-1.
You think he's one of the most unassuming RBI guys in the game?
He is, and a lot of it has to do where I think the uniform that he's worn. I mean, he's never really played after his White Sox tenure to start his career. He's never played in a big market. He's not a flamboyant guy, a cattle rancher out of Panama.
You saw the career numbers, 300 home runs. The Astros have had 3 players this year reach that number, 300 home runs. Lance Berkman, Carlos Lee, and Pudge.
Matsui and Tejada aboard. And Vandenhert has fallen behind 3-1 to a dangerous hitter, but the slider bails him out. Ugla calls, and Ugla catches.
Now that's pitching. That was a great pitch. The last thing Carlos Lee thought he was going to get was a breaking ball. He's looking fastball, but just a subtle slider, not a whole lot of movement, but enough to fool a really good hitter.
So in this Houston lineup, you got to worry about Matsui and Tejada and Lee and Pudge and Pence. But don't look past this guy, Jeff Blum, because he's hot right now. It was his home run yesterday that accounted for all the runs in the 2-0 win over Milwaukee.
And another veteran, Blum, a switch hitter. He's 36.
He's a Wes Helms type guy.
Yeah.
A guy that is good to have on your ball club. So good that this is the second time he's played for Houston. He's had 2 tours of duty with San Diego. And he hit one of the bigger home runs in the 2005 World Series. And he did it against Houston as a Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, I always think it means something when a guy has a couple of tours with the same club, because it tells you that that club remembers the type of person and player that guy is.
Vandy misses outside with his changeup, and he's gone 2-1. Falling behind this lineup is not a good idea. You can see what we were talking about with Blum's numbers.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys up and down that can hurt you.
Two and 2. But as you noted, you take the last start for Vandenhert. If you want to go back further, his previous start against Atlanta, good one, 6 innings, 2 runs. In Los Angeles, 5 innings, 1 run. So the stuff is there. The consistency is what the Marlins are looking for. That's going to start the runners.
I think right now, Rick Vandenhert is trying to find some consistency.
fastball was hammered through that slider up there. And still 3-2.
Blum also a switch hitter. You see Matsui, switch hitter. So when Berkman's in that lineup, another switch hitter.
Foul back.
Now remember, there's a good fastball. There's Lance Berkman, as Rich mentioned. He's doing a little running. He did some today with that strained calf. Try to stretch it out right there. I think I'm going to do that about the 4th inning. And Berkman hopes to play maybe the 3rd game of this series.
Another 3-2. Fastball popped him up. Nick Johnson, Dan Ugla, and it's Ugla who makes the catch. And Vandenhurst gets out of the 1st.
Taco Bell.
Marlins come to the plate in this orderly fashion. 5 over, 4 out in the East, 3 out in the wild card. Chris Coghlan is red hot. He'll lead it off. He's followed by Nick Johnson. Hanley Ramirez still leading the National League in hitting. Jorge Cantu drove in a couple of runs yesterday. Dan Ugla had a very good road trip. Bake's bat has come to life. So has Cody Ross's. Jeremy Hermite is in right. And Rick Vandenhurst is in the 9th spot.
Well, there's a familiar face. Brian Moeller is certainly one time a Marlin. So familiar with this mound. And we talked about the difference in him pitching at home as opposed to on the road. On the road, 5-1 with a 3.91 ERA. His last start, he gave up 7 runs to the Giants. That was at home.
A routine that we were familiar with when he pitched for the Marlins. He kneels behind the mound, and the initials of his late father, Fred Moeller, he puts behind the pitching rubber, and he's ready to go against Chris Coghlan. First pitch, fastball. Moeller is a veteran, so he'll be pitching tonight.
Yeah, for Moeller to have success, and we've seen this, he has to spot the fastball, not overpowering. He's not going to blow hitters away, but he has to hit corners.
If you're an advanced scout and you've seen Chris Coghlan, what exactly would you tell Brian Moeller about him leading into this series?
You know, you're going to say throw him strikes because he's patient. Try to get ahead. He may take some pitches early. Try to work him in, make him pull the ball. Chris appears to like the ball out over the plate. And those would be a few things. And if you have control like Moeller does, he may do that. Use the changeup.
Yeah,
Moeller has one.
He's good at that. Counts 2-1. Inside corner. Of course, Coghlan, 8 consecutive games, multiple hits. consecutive games.
How many times, Rich, do we see an at-bat where you look up, Chris Coughlin's hitting, and you look at the scoreboard, and it's a 3-2 count? Or you look at the Fox box.
3-2 coming. And Coughlin fouls it back to the screen.
Yeah, Rennie Stennett had a 6-hit game one time in his career. Quite a second baseman, offensive player with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Our friends at Stats, David Sherman in particular, emailing us before the ball game that the longest multi-hit streak since 1954 is 11. Tony Perez. 3-2 misses. Coughlin works a walk.
That's fun to watch. Just watching work a rookie working the veteran pitcher.
It's a very good defensive team behind Moeller tonight.
4th in the league in fielding. Good defense. Carlos Lee, Michael Bourne with tremendous speed in center. Hunter Pence has a good arm in right. Blum has only made 3 errors all year. Erstad, the veteran at first. Tejada and Matsui up the middle. And you all know that guy behind the plate, Pudge Rodriguez.
Well, here's Nick Johnson, who arrived in South Florida just for a quick weekend against the Cubs, then hit the road, and now is back home. This is game number 9 as a Marlin, and he takes inside from Moeller. And certainly Nick Johnson is on the all grinded out at bat team in the majors. Marlins have seen that firsthand. 10 walks in his 8 games, and as we pointed out, Coughlin has flourished in front of him. Hanley has continued to hit behind him. That's in. Pudge snap throw, something he's made a pretty good living at.
Now the all-time leader in games caught, and 13 Gold Gloves to go along with all those games. And a nice World Series championship in 2003.
Two and 0.
The other thing, Rich, in the brief time that we've watched Nick Johnson firsthand, he will, with a runner at first, take advantage and maybe look for a pitch in, and we've seen him pull a few ground ball base hits in the hole on the right side.
Erstad is holding Chris Coughlin, and Moeller chases him back. Moeller 37 now. Couple years with the Fish. Two 1. Line tied base hit center field. Coughlin around second, headed for third. Up with the ball is Bourne. His throw is not in time. So the combination of Coughlin and Johnson sets the table quite nicely for Hanley Ramirez.
What a couple of great at-bats. And watching Chris Coughlin, now Nick Johnson, he sees one that he likes at line drive swing. And Coughlin looking at Bourne, realizing that Bourne was a little deep, even though he circled that ball well, knew that he was going to be able to make it to third. So 1st and 3rd, and guess who's coming up?
Hanley Ramirez leads the National League in hitting at .348. And he stands in the Marlin leader with 74 runs driven in. 12 hits on the road trip. He scored 7 runs on the road trip. Moeller tries to catch the corner and misses outside. Pablo Sandoval at .332 is second in the batting race, so Hanley's got a 16-point lead right now.
Yeah, helped by that 4-hit game yesterday in Philadelphia. Hanley and Coughlin coming off 4-hit games.
Astros very good up the middle with Tejada and Matsui, and they're back for 2. Tejada's having maybe his best year defensively in his long, illustrious career. Matsui's made only 3 errors this year. And it's 2-0 on Hanley. Popped him up, shallow center. Matsui is out. Bourne calls him off, makes the catch. And the Astros get a big out. Marlins still have runners at the corners, 1 down.
You know, we saw Rick Vandenhurst get a big out. Carlos Lee 3-1 pitch. He threw him a slider. That time Brian Moeller got Hanley out front on a changeup. And situation, you want to see that run come in. Now it becomes a little bit tougher for Jorge Cantu. The infield will still sit in a double play spot.
It has been a tough second half for Cantu, although yesterday he perked up with a couple of hits and a couple of RBIs. And with the trio in front of him getting on base at an above 500 clip over the last 2 weeks, Cantu is getting plenty of opportunities to do just that. Drive it into center field, base hit, Coghlan scores, Marlins on the board first. That's got to feel good for Cantu.
Yeah, good to see Georgie as his teammates call him come alive. But I think some of that goes back to the game yesterday with the at-bats he had in Philadelphia. So he gets in that situation early in the year. The first month or two, we talked a lot about the big hits Jorge Cantu got for the Marlins. And there's one of them right there to start tonight.
So Cantu with the RBI single. Johnson is at second. On the road trip, a couple of bats near the bottom of the order. Dan Uggla and Cody Ross had some real pop in them. Ross, for sure, he had 3 homers. Uggla homered and had some big hits as well.
This is a guy that Dan Uggla's going to have to really make come to him. Brian Moeller, that throws a lot of off-speed stuff, and he's going to have to be a little patient. He doesn't like days off. I asked Dan about yesterday. He doesn't like them, but he was happy to see his club bang out 19 hits and beat Philadelphia.
And beat Jamie Moyer. Uggla ground ball in the left field, base hit. Johnson to third, and that's it. Lee gets it in quickly. Now they're loaded, and up comes Baker.
Well, the day off sometimes does you a world of good. Dan Uggla pops in there and gets his first base hit, a good swing.
Doesn't it seem like over the last couple of weeks that they're finally starting to drop, or finally starting to find holes for Uggla?
Yeah, remember how we talked about, and I was telling somebody this the other day, Dan Uggla came into this game hitting .233 very easily, and we see him every day. Very easily he could be at .250, and with him that's certainly all right with the power that he gives you.
Well, here now is Baker. Bags loaded. Astros playing back for 2. Baker's had the last 2 games off with lefties on the mound in Philadelphia. Drives that one foul. He had a 2-for-4 night on Friday in his last start, including a double.
I'll tell you what, Baker in his last 29 games has hit .320. So he has put together a nice little run.
The funny thing is, Baker finally has some company in the lineup in terms of grinding out at bats. He was the lone cowboy last year, a guy that came up in Oakland's system. In fact, he was in that famed Moneyball draft by the A's back in 2002.
Got to be fun for him watching guys like Nick Johnson and Chris Coghlan.
Takes that ball to left field towards the corner. Lee goes back. It is fair, and it bounces up and out of play. 2 runs in, 3-0 Fish.
Well, I tell you what, I think that ball hit right on the line. When you hit that as a left-handed hitter, you think it might slice foul. Baker was looking at it, trying to lean it fair, and you think this ball right here, you think it might go foul. And I think it catches right on that line. You actually see a little chalk down there. Carlos Lee does not cover a lot of ground.
Wow.
A little chalk.
You got it like that.
A little chalk worth 2 RBIs.
Bake will take it. 19 doubles. Baker having a very solid offensive year. The combination of Baker and Paulino has been a nice one for the Fish. You go around baseball and add up offensive numbers, home runs, RBIs, batting average for every team's catchers. And if you get the type of output that the Marlins have from their two catchers, you got to be happy. Paulino has 5 homers. Baker has 8. Ross fouls it back. Together they've driven in over 60 runs.
Crowd's into it already with the Cody chant.
Well, the last time they saw him, Tommy, they were chanting. Because the last time they saw him,
exactly,
that man, Dan Uggla, had tied the game against the Cubs, and Ross hit his second of the Sunday to walk it off.
Well, of course, we hope they saw him a few times on the road.
Well, yeah.
But the last time in person,
he hit some big homers on the road, too. In fact, Ross had 3 homers on the road trip. Uggla and Baker, 1 out, infield's in, and a fastball. Ross swings through it.
Infield a little in now. Remember earlier, before the Marlins started to score, the infield was back.
That one's up, and the count 2-2 to Cody Ross. 20 homers now for Cody.
Notice how Moeller got Cody to chase that fastball. Then he went up in that same area again, and Cody was able to lay off.
You think Moeller triples up on the fastball?
No. He knows Cody's a good fastball hitter.
Drives that ball to right center field. Hunter Pence is there. Uggla's tagging on his way. Runner going to third as well. And Baker hustles to third as Uggla scores. The Marlins have 4 runs here in the first.
Good AB. He didn't triple up on the fastball. Cody Ross saw the slider and was able to stay back enough, drove it the other way, and got it deep enough to bring home his teammate from third base. So Ugg scores. Cody Ross gets another RBI, number 63 on the year.
And Moeller is going to walk Jeremy Hermida. That'll bring Vandenherk up. And so Vandy will come up. The Fish have got 4 against an Astros team that just finished a 3-game series against Milwaukee. Took 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. And here comes Vandy. It all started with that great at bat by Chris Coghlan.
And those 2 guys at the top of the order. Coghlan drew the walk. He scored. Nick Johnson got a base hit. He eventually scored.
So here is Vandenherk. And it's been a struggle for Brian Moeller.
Vandy 0 for 7 this year, has 1 career base hit, 1 for 33.
So while his dad Wim was conducting those academies in the Netherlands, apparently Rick did not participate in the hitting drills.
No, and that's exactly why, as a 16-year-old signed as a catcher,
yes,
he is now a pitcher. I'll bet you, though, he could tell us some hitting feats, some stories about his big base hit somewhere.
If they involve a windmill, we know he's kidding. Hermida and Baker on the corners. Boy, Moeller misses outside. The Marlins have forced Moeller to throw 33 pitches.
And more balls than strikes.
He gets Vandenhurst, but the Marlins get to Moeller with 4 runs. The Fish are on the board. Big hits in this one. How about Cantu? Baker. 4-0 Fish. Four 4-0, an early start against the Houston Astros. And now Rick Vandenhurst has got himself a little bit of a cushion.
Sometimes when a young pitcher, I don't want to say a struggle, a walk, a base hit, we didn't see a real sharp Rick Vandenhurst. Sometimes with the cushion that you called it, sometimes you can relax a little bit and settle in.
Is your group looking for a special event? Save money, provide them with an unforgettable experience at a Marlins game. Call the group sales department, 305-626-SAVE. Ask about upcoming special events in August, youth baseball and softball night, ladies night out, and all you can eat seats. Hunter Pence, Ivan Rodriguez, and Darren Erstad. And this is what we mean by a lineup and a roster that is stocked with familiar baseball names. Pence, a guy that had a terrific year last year, in fact was leading the majors in hitting going to the All-Star break last year. Here's the 1-1. Lines it into center field. That ball is smoked. Cody picked it. No, he trapped it. And that's a base hit for Pence. That was actually 2007 where he had his breakout year. Last year Pence hitting .269. And he has settled in the outfield for the Astros quite nicely.
Can't hit a ball much harder than this one. Cody tried to sell it, but picked it on the short hop.
Well, here's Pudge. Remember, during spring training, a lot of fans had hoped that the Marlins would sign Pudge. You can see his numbers. 248 average, 8 homers. 37-year-old. He went to the World Baseball Classic and used that as an audition and ended up signing a $1.5 million contract with some incentives with the Astros.
Always hit well here. Had huge base hits in 03. You know, just to make a brief comparison, you saw Pudge's numbers this year. 248, 8 home runs, 33 RBIs. John Baker, about 275, 8 home runs, 35 RBIs. Good
fastball got in on him. And Cody trots back and makes the catch.
I heard an interesting line about a number of players in the Astros lineup. Because you and I both remarked, we're writing down in our scorecard, this is a good lineup.
Yeah.
And the line was, it's a lineup that has a great resume.
Yeah, filled with all-star games and MVPs.
And here's another guy.
Gold gloves.
Good resume.
Erstad, 3 gold gloves.
Yeah, 1. He's gotten gold gloves in the outfield and as a first baseman.
Right. And made his mark with the Angels. Erstad now 35. He's one of those guys, Tommy, that has played the game hard. A Jim Edmonds type. And it shows up in the injuries that he's had at the tail end of his career.
Probably taking a toll on him, but that's the way he's played the game.
Erstad with a big swing.
Good changeup.
Comes from that baseball powerhouse, Jamestown, North Dakota, and then went on to be an All-American punter at the University of Nebraska, and of course played baseball for the Cornhuskers as well. Wow, that's dating oneself right there.
Well, he got it. You know, he's still the same size, so he wants to keep the same shirt.
Was there a Aesop Choi T-shirt night back there? That predates me.
There might have been, but I'll tell you what, Choi, the first year, the only year he was here, he had 10 home runs in April. He got off to an unbelievable start.
So they probably had Aesop Choi T-shirt night in early May.
And then he became a Moneyball guy, and it would drive Jack McKeon crazy. Yeah, Jack used to say, I don't want a guy that big drawing walks. I want him to drive in runs.
Erstad drives that one to right and deep. Hermida to the track. It's gone. Darren Erstad still has some pop in that bat.
Well, he's missed time this year. He spent some time on the disabled list with a hamstring problem. He hasn't played a whole lot since that time, and really hasn't played a lot this year. Came in hitting below 200. But no problem on this pitch. A fastball drifted over the middle of the plate. And a long way from Darren Erstad.
He can add that home run to his resume. Moeller takes inside.
I think a key. We talked about it for this series, but I think a key for the remaining part of the season. The number 4 and 5 starters. Rick Vandenhert, Sean West. If they continue to be inconsistent, it's going to be a tough road for the Marlins, and it's going to be frustrating for Mark Wiley.
One and one to Moeller. Chopper towards third. Cantu sets his feet and gets the out. Saturday afternoons were made for baseball this week. The national game of the week. The National League East leading Phillies head to Atlanta to take on Chipper Jones and the Braves. Fox Saturday Baseball this week at 4 Eastern on Fox. You can see the National League schedule right there. The Marlins certainly interested in that Dodger-Giant game and the Cubs-Rockies tilt. The Giants and the Rockies are the wild card leaders with identical records. The Cubs are 2 back, the Marlins 3 back, and the Braves, who have been hot, are 3.5 back. Braves played very well in Los Angeles.
You know, our crack staff couldn't wait until we got back. I mean, they missed us when we're gone. And just got handed a note. Aesop Choi, 95 games in 04, hit 270 with 15 home runs, hit most of those in April, and had 40 RBIs.
Vandenhert misses down low. There's your National League East, with the Phillies heading to Chicago to open up a series against the Cubs. Vandenhert, they count 3-2.
I think Choi last played in the big leagues with the Dodgers, and I thought I saw where he might be playing over in Korea, in the Korean Baseball League.
No, Vandenhert walks a very fast man. There's your wild card with Colorado and San Francisco. Cubs, Fish, Braves, Houston is tied with Milwaukee. They're 6 back.
So you think of those teams ahead of the Marlins, done with the Cubs, done with the Giants, and only the 3-game series this weekend against the Rockies.
Matsui now. Bourne has stolen 39 bases.
Our crack staff is worldwide now. The Kia Tigers in South Korean Baseball League is where Choi is currently employed.
Is it like Kia Motors?
Yeah.
Runner goes. Bake's throw on the bag, but not in time. 40 bags for Bourne.
Well, you knew it was just a matter of time that Michael Bourne would take off. Great throw by John Baker. A quick throw. Just the blazing speed. Michael Bourne gets there before the Hanley tag.
But that's close.
That's very close.
Oh, 2. Well, Vandenhert was given a 4-0 lead. He's given up 2 runs, and his pitch count is pushing 50 now. He's at 45. Change up, line to center. Cody makes the catch. Darren Erstad goes deep. The Astros cut the Marlins lead in half. Coughlin.
Thought you were going to say brought to you by Bob Watson.
Oh, there are some great names in Houston history.
Mark Lemongello.
Jimmy Wynn. There's a strike.
Here's that last at bat. If you just check out the pitches and how patient. Takes a strike, a little low, a little inside. That was borderline. Fouls off a borderline pitch and ends up drawing the walk and eventually came in to score.
Coughlin just swung through a breaking ball. Now it's 0-2. Pitches per plate appearance. Coughlin above the league average. Do you think he will always be a leadoff man?
No. No. He could be a number 2, a number 3 hitter. I don't think you'd see him in the 4th or 5th spots, but somewhere at the top of an order.
Pulls that one to first. Erstad picks it up.
Now, we talked about changeups, and that was a changeup that he was a little bit out in front of.
You got two different ends of the spectrum here. You've got the youngster Vandenherk trying to pull it together and protect the lead.
That was a good changeup too. Down.
And you've got the veteran Moeller, who's trying to all of a sudden stop the bleeding, settle into this game, and give his manager Cecil Cooper a good 5-6 innings. There's Cecil Cooper.
Cecil Cooper in his 2nd full year, and he was quite a player. You talk about left-handed swings. 5-time All-Star, hit 300 8 times.
He won a couple of Gold Gloves as well.
All of a sudden, it looks like Moeller has a little more command of his changeup.
You've just joined us. 4 runs for the Fish in the first. John Baker drove in 2 with a double. Cantu an RBI single. Cody Ross a sac fly. Nick Johnson had a base hit in that inning. But the Astros, on a Darren Erstad home run, are on the board themselves. Struck him out, inside corner. Nick goes down. Good pitch by Moeller.
He has made excellent pitches. They wanted that up, though. Saw the target set by Bud. Wanted a fastball up. It came back off the corner. So here's the difference. Rick Vandenherk, in his 2nd inning, had struggles. Gave up the 2-run homer. It looks like Brian Moeller has kind of put it together.
Now, who's going to last 5 or 6 innings now is the question. Moeller flips up a breaking ball for a strike to Hanley. The Astros, a team that are just kind of hanging around in the Central right now. At a game under, they are 6 back of the Cardinals.
You know, they made a little run. You know, about 3 weeks ago, they put on a little run, and they were right there in the mix.
Well, they were a team last year, remember, that had a very good second half. You can see the Volstad-Oswald matchup tomorrow. Hurricane Ike hit. Remember last year, the Astros had a nice run going. They had all the momentum in the world, but then the hurricane forced Lance Berkman and the Astros to go up to Milwaukee to face the Cubs, leaving their family and everybody behind,
and their fans,
and
because
their fans.
Milwaukee being so close to Chicago, it was basically a home game for the Cubs.
They got no hit by Carlos Zambrano, and then 1 hit by Ted Lilly in the Cubs bullpen. Hanley pops it up again. Matsui has this one, and the Marlins are down in order. Moeller settles down. Can Vandenherk do the same?
Hutton. Some good news concerning our old friend Aaron Boone. He played for the Marlins back in 2007. Of course, a member of the Astros organization now. He underwent open heart surgery back in March. Well, tonight, Boone is starting his rehab assignment with the Astros AA team in Corpus Christi. Plans on playing about 7 of their next 12 games, then hopefully going up to AAA for another week or so. He's aiming at a return to the Astros for a series against Colorado on August 28th to 30th if all goes well. But the good news, Aaron Boone is back playing baseball again after undergoing a very scary procedure, open heart surgery, back in the spring. Guys?
0-2 pitch coming. I'll tell you what.
That's a great story.
Every weekend you get the great baseball columns of things that are going on around baseball. I believe it was in a Houston paper yesterday. There was a terrific article on Aaron Boone and the surgery and his rehab. Tejada fouls it into the glove of Baker, and Vandenhurst gets a strikeout to open up this third inning. And it's a great read. So if you're at home, you got the computer fired up, search it, see if you can find that article on Aaron Boone. It was this weekend, and it talks about his relationship with his brother Brett, the many baseball people that have reached out to him and helped him along the way, and just what he's had to go through with the surgery. He is such a humble guy and one of the best people you'll meet in the game.
Oh, he was terrific.
Just some really good quotes, not only about baseball, but about life in that article.
It was a procedure that he knew somewhere down the line he was going to have. He just didn't think it would be at this young age. Wasn't he getting text messages from Will Ferrell? I read that.
He may have.
And he couldn't believe it. He goes, I'm getting messages from Will Ferrell.
Well, a couple of guys that went to USC.
Yeah.
I suspect. There's a strike. We saw the Boone this weekend in Philadelphia. The father of all Boones.
The father. We saw Bob.
Bob Boone was there. Yeah, it doesn't sound like time-wise we'll be able to see him when we get to Houston. Sounds like he'll be out.
He's going to be out playing.
Yes, on his rehab, but certainly good luck on the path back to one of the good guys. Lee takes up. Vandenhurst got Tejada, but he walks Lee.
Which, by the way, striking out Miguel Tejada is not easy. Over 400, almost 450 at-bats. It's only the 35th time that Tejada has struck out. He's also not easy to walk. He's only walked 13 times.
Here's Jeff Blum. Yeah, you've got two guys back-to-back in Tejada and Lee who are just like that. You throw Berkman in the mix, too. He's a guy that walks a lot.
Doesn't strike out like you would think a power hitter would.
Not Adam Dunn-like.
Not Adam Dunn-like, no. Not Mark Reynolds-like.
No, Reynolds homered again yesterday.
What's he have, 36?
Yes. We do realize that out of that area of Virginia, you have Ryan Zimmerman, Mark Reynolds, and David Wright. All very good third basemen.
And Zimmerman and Reynolds played on the same
college team.
Team.
The Uptons came out of there as well. You want to throw those guys in there. And Michael Kadire also in that mix. Well, Vandenhurst right now doesn't look real steady. He's walked Lee. He's 2-0 on Blum. And Blum hits a deep drive to right that is hooking.
See,
and
this
is foul.
This is a game, and I'll tell you how frustrating it is for Mark Wiley and for Freddie Gonzalez. You can't night in and night out pound that bullpen and go to guys this early. So right now they're trying to squeeze as many innings, a couple of more, maybe get 5 out of Rick Vandenhurst. But in the meantime, they hope he doesn't allow the Astros to get back in this thing.
Popped him up. Hanley's out. Coughlin's in. And Hanley makes the catch. One of Tommy's favorites joins our coverage. Batting stance guy. And of course, It's the ever-popular Guess the Stance. This is batting stance guy. I think this is a repeat.
Yeah, it's a repeat.
The difference between the guy he's imitating and batting stance guys, I don't think batting stance guy was suspended 50 games for steroids.
Too big of a hint.
Oh, sorry. Hunter Pence. Pence hit a line drive in the second at the shoe tops of Cody Ross in center field. It's a good young player, Tommy. This is a guy, a Texas guy from Arlington, the University of Texas in Arlington, just 26. He's a nice combination of speed, defense, and a good hitter.
He's the kind of guy you watch him play and you expect that he'll be around the league for a while. He's only 26.
That almost looked like a BP fastball, not a straight change, but it came in at 92.
Pence will chase out of the strike zone. So once you get 2 strikes on him, especially 1 and 2, you can try to expand the zone a little bit.
Speaking of expanding, the Phillies have chosen not to expand their rotation. They have yanked Jamie Moyer out of the rotation, and Pedro Martinez will get the start on Wednesday.
You know, you could kind of read between the lines when we were in Philadelphia, maybe figure that out.
Time called. And you know what? It almost felt like going into yesterday's start, the Phillies had already made their mind up that Moyer was coming out and Pedro was going in.
But how is Moyer going to be working out of the bullpen?
Or do they save Moyer for the Pedro starts?
And kind of piggyback him.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So you go out of the strike zone, he chased it. So that would be against the Cubs. I think the Phillies were headed to Chicago.
Yep. Ground ball in the hole. Hanley backhands. Long throw. Ugla bobbles. He was trying to keep his foot on the bag, and I think he pulled off and then dropped the ball.
Yeah, he had it. Then he realized he was off the bag because he had to really stretch for it. And as he went back to try to touch the bag, he lost the ball. Hanley's only play was second. Throw a little offline there, and he tries to go back, and he just couldn't hang on. A good effort by Hanley, but the throw pulled Dan Ugla off the bag.
So it just extends the inning, which is not good for Vandenhurst. By the way, news in baseball tonight. Remember the story that Alex Rios had been claimed on waivers by a mysterious team? That team was the Chicago White Sox. And the Blue Jays today announced that the White Sox can have him. So Alex Rios is now a Chicago White Sox.
I'm sure White Sox fans are a little more elated than Blue Jays fans.
I'm not sure about the White Sox accountants, though.
Because yeah, he's owed a lot of money.
Right. He's owed, over the next 7 years, $70 million.
Wow. And by the way, an error has been charged to Dan Ugla, tough error, and not on the throw, which is surprising.
You're kidding. Really?
I would have guessed it would have been a tough error either on Hanley or on Dan, but because Hanley had to go a ways to get that ball, but it was Hanley's poor throw
that pulled him off the bag.
That pulled Ugla off the bag.
So is the official scorer the official score then is saying that if Uggla holds the ball, he's out. That's not true.
He wasn't, because he wasn't on the bag.
Right. I mean, a play like that, you're thinking,
like I said, it's a tough error either way.
You're thinking more of fielder's choice or even a base hit. You could read. I mean, you could read.
Right, he probably wouldn't be base hit because the throw clearly had him beat.
I was thinking
the next chance would be fielder's choice.
Right. I don't think he gets Pence at first because Pence runs well.
No, not at all.
Popped him up. Hanley. You can hear him call Uggla off, and he makes the catch. So Vandenhert gets through the third. In baseball, you always think you've seen it all. You've never seen it all. And I think Helms is not only talking about the sweep of the Phillies, but yesterday, Shane Victorino getting thrown out of the ball game by questioning balls and strikes from center field.
Most every baseball person I talked to had never seen that before. But it really went beyond that. There was chirping from the dugout. There was continued conversation from Victorino as he came out of the dugout to head to his position in center field. So, that was a lot more to it. Maybe a little drastic on Rapuano's part, but certainly changed the game. Changed the complexion of the game.
The Phillies unraveled at that point. Here is Cantu. Jorge takes a breaking ball down low from Moeller.
So they have changed that call, Rich. An infield base hit for Hunter Pence.
Cantu steps out. One and one. Moeller getting Cantu, Uggla, and Baker here in the third. Misses down low. So how about that? We've talked about making trades and trying to sneak guys under the waiver wires, and oftentimes teams will claim guys to block a potential trade. You wonder if the White Sox claimed Rios to block the trade or if they were generally interested in him.
Well, you have to figure out if they claim him, they have to know his contract situation.
Right.
But they have to know the waters that they're treading on.
And for the Blue Jays, they get out from under a contract that when they signed it at the time seemed like they were locking up one of their young players.
Which could now allow them to use money that they were going to be spending to Alex Rios. It could allow them to spend in other areas, too.
What about Roy Halladay?
There you go.
Does it allow them the financial ability to re-sign Halladay? Vernon Wells is another big contract that the Blue Jays have. Cantu, a little pop towards the line. Pence is over, and he makes the catch. So in a strange way, it could be a win-win for both teams. The Blue Jays get out from that contract, and if Rios can get back to the form that he had in the last couple of seasons,
certainly a win for the White Sox then.
What if he doesn't? And if he continues to slide in terms of his numbers, that's an awful big number to have to eat over the next 7 years.
Did you say $70 million?
Yep.
Over 7 years.
Here is Ugla now. And takes a breaking ball for a strike. Daniels singled back in the first. Brian Moeller gave up 4 first-inning runs, but has settled in. Ugla taps it foul. Moeller, of course, was a Marlin, a very popular Marlin in the clubhouse, a veteran presence and a young pitching staff in '06. And a guy that really rebuilt his career after major surgery. Started his career in the Detroit Tiger organization. And I think a guy that surprised a lot of people with the year he had last year. Ugla whacks it to right. Pence on the run. Makes the catch. The 3rd annual Fish and Chips Casino Party is coming up on Thursday the 27th at the Fairmont Turnberry Isle Resort and Club in Aventura. Marlins players, coaches, and other celebrities will be there at 6 o'clock for an exciting evening of gambling fun. Make your reservation, 1-877-MARLINS, or visit marlins.com, and it all benefits the Community Foundation.
It's always a fun night.
John Baker lifts that one to the left side, and that's where Baker went to drive in 2 in the first.
That's why he's doing what you have to do as a left-handed hitter against a type of pitcher like Brian Moeller. Stay back, try to go the other way, and that ball hit right on the chalk line, a double, couple of RBIs. You're talking about Moeller. I think you look at his career, it certainly doesn't have great numbers, but he's been a journeyman. He's been steady. He's worked through many different injuries and gotten himself back.
Baker laces that one to left. El Caballo makes the catch and stays upright.
A little more room here for El Caballo than at Minute Maid.
There is. 4-2 Fish. 3 innings. And at that pace, he won't be around to see the 6th. Darren Erstad, who hit the 2-run homer back in the 2nd. Then Brian Moeller. And then Michael Bourne. Change up for a strike, and it's 0-1. He hit a fastball, and boy, did he hit it.
I think we've seen Van den Hurk at his best when he's just taken a little off, added some, been able to get some pop flies, instead of trying to overthrow. And that's what he did when he was with the Marlins his first couple of times. Tried to overthrow, try to throw that big curveball. So when he settles in and just pitches, doesn't max effort every pitch, he's had a little more success.
Here's the 0-2. Little chopper. Hanley. There was a time in his career that Erstad would have beaten that out.
Yeah, Rich, you read my mind. And he's had hamstring problems this year, but you're right. There was a time that's an infield base hit. A year he had over 200 hits. That's a hit.
Yeah, he had a lot of infield hits that year. So Moeller now, this is a good spot for Van den Hurk to try to get back up on his feet, so to speak. He jams Moeller. And Baker. Look at the range by Baker making a nice play. He looked a lot like this next guy.
I think he was moving better than this guy. I don't know. The Ducks got a nice little step in tonight.
Jeff Bagwell holds the Houston home run mark for right-handers with 449. Who is the lefty leader?
The lefty leader. Well, we can't. Obviously, it's not Berkman. He's just a switch hitter. Boy, that's the first name that I thought of.
How about a guy whose son was on the team last year?
Who possibly is on the coaching staff.
And it's not Dewey Robinson. That would be Jose Cruz Sr. Van den Hurk.
Nice inning.
Fastball, fastball, fastball. Down goes Bourne. Van den Hurk's best inning of the night. 4-2 Fish. By Corona, the official sponsor of the timeout. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Frank Fort. Mitch Rubenstein is our producer tonight for the vacationing John Sulzer. Jim Hawley is our household name director. Ken Lee, our graphics coordinator. Cassie Allen is our floor director.
Our perennial all-star,
Yes.
Cassie Allen.
Known throughout the industry as one of the best in the business.
Sought after by many.
Cody Ross, Jeremy Hermida, and then Vandenhert against Moeller, who ever since that first inning has been outstanding. He's retired 7 in a row. He's back to the Brian Moeller that Marlin fans had seen on occasion. An assortment of off-speed stuff.
Yeah, the only base runner after the Baker double was the intentional walk to Jeremy Hermida.
Astros go into this series with their rotation a little bit unsettled. Ross hits it to deep center field. Bourne, lots of speed, runs it down.
Yeah, wrong guy, because he can chase him down. We've talked about Carlos Lee in left, not a lot of range, but they need a center fielder like a Michael Bourne, because at Minute Maid, a lot of space in center. You have that little berm that goes up in straightaway center, and he can chase him down. That ball was hit well by Cody.
Here is Hermida. Roy Oswalt will start tomorrow. Oswalt coming off an injury. Hermida pops that one into shallow right center. Bourne and Pence, look out! And it's Pence who makes the catch. Of course, that's usually the exclamation when the duck comes back. Bagwell, the Astro home run mark for right-handers. And that was a good hint. Jose Cruz, just 138. It's amazing that there are 7 right-handed Astros that have hit more homers. Or guys that are switch hitters. You'd put Berkman in that list as well.
All of Jose Cruz's years with the Astros as an Astro in the spacious Astrodome. But a solid hitter, 284 career hitter, over 2,200 career hits.
You played a few games in the Astrodome.
Yeah. It was definitely a pitcher's ballpark, and they always had tough pitchers. From Joe Niekro to
J.R. Richard.
J.R. Richard.
Of course, Nolan Ryan
Ryan, Mike Scott.
Now, by the time you got there, had they eliminated the grounds crew dressed in spacesuits?
Yes. The uniforms look like spacesuits at that time.
2-2. Now Moeller's pitch count is at 62. Vandenhertz is at 76.
Yeah, Moeller's really settled down after that first inning. Most of his pitches were in the first.
He strikes out Vandenhertz. Well, Moeller has retired 10 straight now.
vía SAP y es presentado por KFC. 4-2. Marlins al frente y vamos a saludar
our
a
Spanish
Rich.
language broadcasters.
Richie and Tommy.
Rich, Tommy, how are you?
Hi guys, how are you?
We're doing
Very
great.
good.
Did you guys hear about Alex Rios going to White Sox?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
What a surprise, huh?
Well, you know, big names always get put out there on the waiver wire. Some teams are secretly hoping that somebody claims them, and I think the Blue Jays were hoping that someone would claim Rios, and the White Sox get that $70 million contract along with an outfielder whose number's off this year, but is certainly talented. So it's a gamble, but it may pay off.
Well, I consider Rios a pretty good ball player, you know, with power and a good outfielder. And I think they were trying just to get him by the waivers, and maybe trying to do a trade, but just to lose him for nothing, I think it's a big loss for Toronto.
Well, we'll see if Rich had a good comment, wondering if Toronto, now with that money that they have, maybe they'll extend Roy Halladay.
Yeah, that's true. They might be able to keep him now.
Hey guys, we were playing Name Your Favorite Astro, so we'll ask you in Astro history. Who
Hey,
are
Cookie, you played a few games in the Astrodome.
I sure did, no question. Yeah.
Cookie, who was your favorite Astro of all time?
Well, I'll tell you what, Richards.
J.R. Richards.
J.R. Richards, one of the best pitchers I've ever seen in my
Not
life.
because you enjoyed hitting off of him.
Absolutely not. He made toothpicks out of my bats.
I liked watching Mike Scott pitch in the 80s, and I
Oh,
remember that huge series against the Mets in 86. Yeah. And that marathon game that they won, I think it was like 14 or 16 innings. I don't recall exactly, but it was great to watch him pitch. He really knew how to mix it up.
My favorite Astro is a guy whose career was cut short when he was hit by a pitch, Dickie Thon.
Dickie Thon.
Yes, good friend of mine too, Richie.
Yes.
It's a shame what happened to him.
Yes, sir.
That's right. He's from Puerto Rico, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, he is.
As a matter of fact, I have it written here, and Cookie can attest to it. He's my second favorite, and that's why. Growing up, my father would always make a point to point out, look, that guy's Puerto Rican. So-and-so's Puerto Rican. So, yeah.
All right,
I like
guys.
him, too.
Have a good show.
You too, fellas.
Couldn't have said it better than Enos Cabell.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
And a good pitch by Rick Vandenberg to strike out Matsui.
Miguel Tejada stands in. Frank Fort, part of the conversation. Frank, who is your favorite Astro?
Well, I'm going to go way back and give you two. First one is way back. Jimmy the Toy Cannon Wynn. And then I always thought Larry Dierker was a good pitcher. I always like to watch Larry Dierker pitch.
He was. Larry Dierker's done just about everything with the Astros. He managed. He was a pitch a no-hitter. He was a 20-game winner. He's been in their front office.
Check swing. Did he go? Nope. Well, we had a special appearance by Joe Sambito earlier. Remember Charlie Kerfeld?
Sure. You're a reliever. Closer.
Didn't he wear the Jetsons T-shirt?
Charlie Kerfeld, a top scout with the Phillies.
Oh, he's a very good scout.
Now, yeah.
Line into center field. Base hit. Second hit for Tejada, who leads the National League in hits. Been an interesting night for Rick Vandenhurst.
Yeah, if you kind of watch what he's done, it seems like when he's taken a little off, he's gotten to pop flies. The fastballs have given him the strikeouts. There's a good change up there. There's out in front Carlos Lee. Plum. He jams Pudge Rodriguez. So the slider, the changeup have gotten some pop flies, and the fastball, 3 of the 4 strikeouts.
Tejada has a huge jump. The Marlin pitchers have to do a better job than that. Miguel Tejada has stolen just 3 bases. That's his 4th. He had about a 15-foot lead, and it was a running lead, not a walking lead.
He's a smart player, and even though he doesn't have the speed that he once had, it's too bad. It's a shame for John Baker, because a lot of times the Marlins pitchers don't give Baker or Paulino any kind of a chance.
Carlos Lee was surprised to hear that that was a strike, and the count is actually 0-1. Pitch misses down low. Here's a look at the jump that Tejada got.
Look at where his lead is. more than halfway by the time Bake got the ball.
Lee fouls it back. The count's 1-2.
Alan Ashby couldn't have thrown a runner out with a lead that big.
As long as we're talking about former Astros.
Well, a guy who has been steady and solid, Brian Sanchez, gets himself loose.
Counts 1-2 with Tejada in scoring position. Vandenhurst trying to bring that back to the corner against the guy that has driven in runs for a living. 100 last year. In just 115 games, he drove in 100.
And again, if you talk to even people who follow the game and say, okay, let's name off 8 or 10 big run producers, a lot of them are going to leave Carlos Lee off the list. But the last 6 years, he's averaged 32 home runs and 110 RBIs.
Two. Pop-up. That has been Vandenhurst's best friend, is the pop-up. Ugla makes the catch. Sunday night at Petco Park in San Diego, the USA's best high school players will take the national stage in the 7th annual Aflac All-American High School Baseball Classic. Craig Biggio, now there's an Astro, will join the live HD telecast.
Oh, that's good. One of our favorites. One of the hardest players. Played the game right. Craig Biggio. And I would suspect, Rich, when his 5 years are up out of retirement, he will go into the Hall of Fame. Maybe not the first ballot, but will be a Hall of Fame.
He's a guy that I always wondered if he would end up managing, because he's a catcher first and foremost. Then he came up as a catcher.
All-star catcher, all-star second baseman, and he even went to the outfield for a couple of years. You know what? A guy like Biggio, that might be in the back of his mind, but I remember the last time we saw him in Houston. He has a young family. He's got some sons that play youth baseball. I'm sure he wants to spend time with them. Another good changeup.
And another fly ball headed Cody Ross's way. Makes the catch. Vandenhurst does get through his 5 innings. Let's see if he's got a 6th left in him. 4-2 Fish. fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered.
Was that Conine's makeup artist?
No, just living up. See, our production staff is so good. Earlier, Tommy, when talking about Cassie Allen, our floor director, said perennial all-star.
Yeah.
Those were two all-stars.
Two perennial all-stars.
Jeff Conine, of course, an all-star MVP.
That's right. Hey, there's Dick Sanford, Marlins PA announcer, having a little birthday cake. Happy birthday to Dick Sanford. Known Dick a long time. Loves the game of baseball.
Coughlin, breaking ball, strike one. It was a Coughlin at bat back in the first that started that 4-run first. He walked. Some big hits. Johnson, Cantu, Ugla, and Baker. Change up is low. It's 1-1.
Well, the Marlins just have to see if they get another base runner off Brian Moeller.
Billy the Marlin. Our first Billy sighting since our weekend.
We have to send our hellos to Billy from the Fanatic, who came in the booth yesterday.
The Fanatic got you with his projectable tongue or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then he got me with the snout.
The Fanatic got me a few years ago with the silly string. It was my birthday.
That's right.
At the time in Philadelphia. It came in and just bombarded me.
Buried you. It's interesting watching Pudge give the signs. A lot of catchers. Pudge has a tendency to give it up high. And a lot of catchers are paranoid that somebody is stealing signs, whether it's a first base coach, somebody in the outfield.
And you certainly have a veteran battery in Brian Moeller and Pudge Rodriguez.
Gets the glove down there so the third base coach doesn't get it, and then tries to bury it as deep as he can. 3-2.
Good changeup. That's really helped Moeller. And he didn't have that pitch consistently in the first inning.
Fish Friday opens up the Rockies series on the 14th. The CBS 4 for $54 pack will get you in. You can play Billy Bingo, presented by Sharp Business Systems, for a chance to win an authentic autographed Ricky Nolasco baseball. Here's Nick. Johnson singled in the first. Struck out in the second. Drives that ball in the gap, right center field. Hits it pretty well. Bourne and Pence converging. And it's Bourne who makes the catch. The speed out there in center and in right is impressive.
Might have gotten it on the end of the bat just a little. That's why it hung up there. For a moment, it looked like Nick Johnson had himself a gapper into right center field. But probably didn't hit this on the good part of the bat. And it hung up there, allowed Bourne to get over there quickly. You're right, a lot of speed between those two guys.
And with Pence's speed in right, Bourne can almost cheat a little bit to help out El Caballo in left.
Yes.
And he slices that one into center field. It nestles in for a base hit.
So the Marlins' first base hit since that double of Baker's in the first inning. A slider out away. A good pitch by Moeller. Hanley just gets complete extension. A little bit up the end of the bat. Drops it in front of Bourne. Tough combo to steal against.
Yeah.
Moeller's pretty quick to the plate.
And Pudge is Pudge.
Yeah, Pudge is Pudge.
Pudge is throwing out 31% of base stealers, which is...
In this day and age, that's about average.
Right, but What doesn't show up in that stat is that opponents have attempted only 42 stolen bases against him. So by reputation, a lot of guys shut down the running game.
And again, a lot of that is to the pitching staff.
Hanley is running, got a pretty good jump. Pudge's throw, not in time.
Yeah, he got a great jump. Pudge in his prime wouldn't have thrown out Hanley on that one. A good jump, good idea to get there early and allow Cantu a shot to bring him in. Nicely done. There's that quick release, strong throw, accurate, but Hanley just got there in plenty of time.
Now it's Cantu with a count 1-1. Or he drove in a run in the first.
Still always one of the best at that play. Bud Rodriguez shifting over. I mean, he is always, a lot of it's because of his size, about 5'9", built solidly, but has been able to move quickly to his left and to his right to block pitches.
Good. 5 years from the day that he retires, you would expect Cooperstown will be calling.
And he will be a first-time Hall of Famer. A couple of pitches ago, watch how he shifts over to his right. And at that point, you're really not trying to catch the ball, you're just trying to block it, and he actually caught it.
Hanley's at second with 2 outs. It's inside. Moeller started towards the dugout, possibly caught the corner.
A lot of DL time for Brian Moeller over his career, shoulder, elbow surgery. Sixth round by the Detroit Tigers out of the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And as we found, being around him for a couple of years, just a terrific guy.
The 3-2. And he misses outside. I think the current Marlins rotation, guys like Nolasco and Josh Johnson, really benefited from being around Brian Moeller.
And to take that a step further, I think the current Marlins rotation could use a Brian Moeller type. Don't necessarily have to be a Brian Moeller, but a veteran guy anchoring, you know, the bottom part of the rotation, a 4th or 5th guy. But you know what? A lot of teams are looking for that type of guy, too.
Oh, yeah.
And a whole bunch of them are in the Philly bullpen.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do when some of their short guys come off the disabled list. Do they send Kyle Kendrick back? Ugla takes outside.
Yeah, they're getting Clay Condry, Chad Durbin is coming back. J.C. Romero had a setback.
I know the rosters expand September 1st, and that's when you'll see 32, 33, 35 guys on a lot of teams. Ugla fouls it back. It's 1-1. Well, the Astros rotation, if healthy, isn't all that bad. If you've got Oswald, Wandy Rodriguez is on a nice roll right now. Ugla squirts it out towards second, and Matsui throws him out. So the Marlins leave a couple, still 4-2. 6th inning. And the Marlins go to the bullpen. Brian Sanchez.
And you know what? The decision by Freddie, you decide not to try to squeeze another inning. You're happy that you got 5 from Rick Vandenhurst, especially the way the first couple of innings went. And now you go to a reliable Brian Sanchez, and you hope your bullpen can piece things together the rest of the game. So that's what you have to think about if you're Freddie Gonzalez.
Bullpen went 4 deep yesterday with Meyer, Calero, Pinto, and Tim Wood.
And remember, Calero had to leave the game
with a sore knee. That's the issue with Mike Hampton. A couple of sore knees as he is slated to start on Thursday to finish this series, but I think there's some question marks around that. Hunter Pence has a couple hits. Chris Sampson in the Houston bullpen. Brian Muller's spot is due up 4th this inning. Cardinals had to put one of their starting pitchers on the disabled list today. Todd Wellemeyer, former Marlin, with elbow pain.
Pitching issues for everyone.
Sharply hit. Hanley to first.
Got to get it over there quickly with Pence going up the line.
And I think Hanley was just reminded of that.
Number 44, catcher Ivan Rodriguez.
You know, you were talking about Brian Muller, and teams could use a number 5 guy at the back of their rotation. You wonder if John Smoltz is done, or if there's a team that might take a flyer on him.
Evidently, after he was designated by the Red Sox, it sounded like, from what I've read, that there were some interested teams.
I guess the bigger question might be, is Smoltz interested in continuing?
And I guess the other thing, should he continue as a starter or in the bullpen with somebody?
He was getting right-handed hitters out, so if you needed a guy that could get righties out and you had the depth where you could protect him and not have to double up and use him 2-3 days in a row. Not many teams have that luxury anymore where they can protect a reliever and say, all right, you can work every other day.
That's where he got hurt by the Yankees the other night with 7 lefties in their lineup.
Wow, that was
that came out of nowhere because Brian Sanchez has had very good command.
I don't think he crossed Bake up. You rarely cross up a guy with nobody at second.
Yeah, I think he just Backus looks like he's going to set up outside, and a pitch just gets way away from him inside, and a fastball.
Veteran hitter Darren Erstad, 2-run homer. Sanchez misses away. You got the pitcher spot due up, and obviously the Astros have a pretty good bench. Some veteran guys there. So Muller, in all likelihood, would come out.
Mostly right-handed hitters, though.
That would be,
looks like,
former Hurricane.
Drum roll.
Jason Michaels. who
had a big night the other night.
is hot right now.
He's
kind of revived his career.
Kind of revived his season, actually. But yeah, he had a 2-homer night the other night.
Michaels had just a great career at the University of Miami. Hit .411 back in 1997. He's out of Tampa's Jesuit High School, which produced Brad Radke, along with Dave Magadan and Lou Piniella. And anytime we have an ex-Hurricane come in, Frank Fort is the authority. Frank?
Just thinking back to the '98 season. Think about this lineup, guys. You have Jason Michaels, Pat Burrell, and Aubrey Huff as your 3, 4, and 5 hitters in that Hurricane lineup. They hit a ridiculous amount of homers. The number escapes me off the top of my head, but it's something like 165 homers in about 60 or 70 games.
Boy, some thumpers.
Yeah, and they wound up going to Omaha, lost in the College World Series. I believe it was in the second round to Long Beach State, but that was a team that could really rake.
Michaels, for many years, part of the Phillies. Spent 4 years with the Phillies. Couple seasons with Cleveland. Last year, he split his time between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. You see Pudge, Erstad's at first. Big moment here in the 6th. Marlins trying to protect a 4-2 lead. Michaels last year was used as a pinch hitter a lot. 50 pinch hit at bats. That's in.
He's the kind of guy who can have a nice career as a good extra outfielder. I don't know if he's an everyday player, but he can play all 3 outfield spots.
Saw him in center field last week.
Can give you good at bats, can give you an occasional home run. He had 19 home runs in that '98 season Frank was talking about.
Chopper up the middle. Hanley got one. Uglo will eat it. And I don't think he was going to get Michaels anyways. Erstad got a piece of him.
Little chopper. This takes just precision timing to maybe get a double play. But the flip was kind of a changeup. And Dan Ugla had to wait for it, and while he was waiting, Erstad came in on it. So a good job by Ugla to catch the ball and at least get the out at second base, because there wasn't a chance for a double play.
So both starters are gone from the game now. Top of the order for the Astros, Michael Bourne has struck out twice and walked.
Now we'll see how Brian Sanchez pitches Bourne.
Fastball up, fly ball left.
That's exactly where Vandenberg pitched him. Tried to blow him away with high fastball.
Brian Sanchez gets through the 6th. Marlins hanging on to a 4-2 lead.
pitched out of the Astros bullpen. You see the numbers this year. Only given up 2 home runs. He keeps that 2-seamer down. Sliders. Likes to backdoor sliders to lefties. One of those nice arms to have in your bullpen.
Brian Moeller goes 5, and Rick Vandenherk ends up going 5.
And Sampson's had a couple of solid years, last 2 years for Houston.
Baker Ross Hermida in the 6th. Marlins looking for win number 59 in game number 112. 111 games into this season. This is the first time the Fish have seen the Astros in person. I mean, the Marlins have already played the Rays 6 times. Sampson misses. And it's 1-0 on John Baker. 2-run double. Baker's also flied out. Not a lot of hits in this game. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Fish. 6 hits with Houston's 2 runs. Baker turns on one. A lot of walks in this game. Vandenherk walked 3. Moeller walked 3.
Now the Marlins just trying to add on against the Astros bullpen.
The Astros have Jose Valverde as their closer. There's Brendan Donnelly in the Marlins bullpen.
By the way, you talked about Houston, the Marlins missing their ace and the Astros missing Josh Johnson. Wandy Rodriguez, the National League Pitcher of the Month, 5-0 with an 0.77 ERA for the Astros left-hander.
The good news is they miss him in this series. The bad news is they'll probably get him in Houston.
Well, and the Astros will get Josh Johnson probably.
If everybody stays on turn, there would be a Josh Johnson versus Wandy Rodriguez matchup. Let's hope that is true. That'd be a fun game to watch.
It'd be a great matchup.
Big takes in.
Yeah, after the 4 games here, the Astros make a stop in Milwaukee for the weekend.
I believe there's a good cheese festival going on
somewhere.
Baker cracks it into center field.
Good job. He stayed behind that ball well.
2 hits for Bake tonight. Cody Ross is our Toyota trend of the night. Last 10 games, 12 hits, 6 homers. Boy, it's some big homers, too. Those 2 against the Cubs, that was the walk-off shot. And then on the road, homers in Washington and in Philly. Sampson spins one up there outside. It's 1-0. The Cubs-Rockies game is underway in Colorado. It's a 4-game wraparound series that finishes tonight. And Colorado leads the Cubs 2-0 in the second.
Cubs trying to salvage a road trip. If they win, they will have a 5-5 trip.
Ball in the dirt.
And the Cardinals, of course, the Cubs interested in that game. They're tied with Cincinnati 1-1 in the third.
I saw where Scott Rowland, and I'm not sure if he did meet with him or was going to meet with Tony La Russa, because remember those 2 had feuded somewhat.
And Scott Rowland now with Cincinnati.
Yep.
Good job by Cody to lay off that 2-0 slider. Yeah, the Rockies beat the Cubs 11-5 yesterday. Starts to go, checks his swing.
Sitting on a 3-0. It's way outside. It goes to the screen. Sampson is having technical difficulties.
Yeah, when you miss this badly on a 3-0 pitch, you're having technical difficulties.
Please stand by.
Please stand by and don't look over your shoulder at the bullpen.
Frank, what's going on? Frank, come in, Frank.
Hey guys, a couple of weeks ago, in fact, on the last Marlins homestand, we had a feature story on Marlins Live about the importance of the 8th spot hitter in the National League. Well, how are the Marlins number 8 hitters doing? They've used 13 different players to start a game in the 8th spot. Those guys are hitting .292 with a .371 on base percentage. In fact, the only spot in the Marlins lineup with a better average are the number 3 hitters, which is, of course, mostly Hanley Ramirez. Marlin number 3 hitters hitting .340. So the 8th place hitter for the Marlins this season doing a pretty good job right now. A total of, coming into this game, 113 hits. And you guys have talked about how important that 8th spot is in the National League, where you don't always get a lot of good pitches to hit. Rich and Tommy?
I never would have guessed.
That's good stuff, yeah, and that's a good number that I would not have guessed either. So good to see that from the number 8 hitters.
1-1 to Hermida with Baker and Ross aboard. And nobody out.
And Ross glowed on deck.
Boy, Daryl Cousins flinched just a bit. Frank?
Guys, on that topic, it's certainly debatable. We mentioned 13 different guys have started in the number 8 slot. The guy best suited is probably John Baker, because he's one of the more patient hitters. Chris Hoagland said he had trouble adjusting to that spot, even though he is a patient guy. Bake's probably the best suited guy.
Ground ball, Matsui is going to get an out at first, and that's as good as moving the runners up for Glode. Although I will say this, I like Bake higher in the lineup because of his ability to work the count and add to a rally.
Yeah, I do too.
Rather than just turn the lineup over.
It really, whoever you put in the 8th spot, you lose a little something from that hitter. Be it Baker or be it Jeremy Hermida. Or Bonifacio.
Here's Glode, and he'll stand in, and he'll take an intentional walk. So the Astros are going to walk Glode to get to one of the Marlins' hottest hitters and set up a double play.
With nobody warming up in the bullpen, so you know Chris Coughlin's going to get that matchup that he wants against the right-handed pitcher.
Well, and you've got Sampson, who doesn't look all that comfortable out there. Remember the walk to Ross?
Yeah, he made better pitches to Hermida, though.
You've got Coughlin with that good eye.
But all you can ask for as manager, Freddie Gonzalez, saying, okay, now I have the matchup that I would like with the left-handed bat against the right-handed pitcher.
One of the biggest plays in yesterday's game against the Phillies was lost in everything that happened.
We talked about it.
Freddie Gonzalez bringing Ross Glode into the game, hitting for Josh Johnson after Johnson went just 6, and it was a key move by Freddie.
Yeah, Josh had thrown 85 pitches. Could he have gone another? Maybe. But he had been on the bases the entire inning, and he had a long inning out on the mound.
Marlins would go on to score 6 runs in that 7th inning and put the game away. Middle infield back for 2. Coughlin takes a strike. It's 0-1.
The other thing for Chris, you're a young hitter, all these at-bats, be they with nobody on base or bases loaded, are off pitchers you've never faced. You have a scouting report.
A balk, and the Marlins get a run. This may bring Cecil Cooper out. Sampson wants an explanation from Daryl Cousins.
It was called out right away. He seems to be explaining things to Cooper and to Sampson. I don't know if they agree. Let's see if he moves. He's set. Once you get in that position, you're ready to go. He moves his elbow.
Right there.
He moved. Clearly, he brought that elbow back, and he stopped.
Watch his right shoulder.
You can see it. Right there. Very subtle, but it's a ball.
And he's a little unsettled
Sometimes
right now.
what happens, a pitcher will be in that set position. They'll be leaning in to get the sign. They'll think they have the sign. Pudge right now trying to get him focused and back into this inning. That's what a veteran catcher, that's what Pudge Rodriguez does. But you maybe think you have the sign, then you're not sure, and you start and you stop, and what he just did was a ball.
It changes the whole at bat now for Coughlin because it brings the infield in. Gload is now at second. Ross is at third. Coughlin rising into center field, base hit. Ross will score. Here comes Gload. Here comes Bourne's throw. It's waiting for him, and he is out. Pudge applied the tag. The Marlins get 1 run, but Michael Bourne made an accurate throw.
Boy, another beautiful swing on a tough pitch. Good two-seamer. A sinker was down. Here comes Bourne. He's not very deep. A little surprised that Bose sent Ross Gload. Pudge had the ball in plenty of time. Didn't really block him off the plate. Gload was able to come in between the legs, but Pudge got the tag on him. Good throw by Bourne.
Wow. You see what the Astros are doing here?
Yeah, they're going to set up a force out. It's not a double play. They're 2 out.
They're walking Nick Johnson to pitch
To get to the league's leading hitter.
The league's leading hitter with runners in scoring position. Wow. This is a gutsy move.
The other thing about Hanley, we talked about him leading the league, 419 with runners in scoring position. And Hanley against right-handed pitchers, it's better than against lefties. He came into this game hitting .362 against right-handed pitchers.
That is best in the National League. So the Astros really rolling the dice here with 2 outs. The Marlins up 6-2. Hanley smokes it into left field. That's a base hit. Coughlin round third. And I'm still in a little bit of disbelief as to what I've just seen.
Well, we laid it out. League's leading hitter, hitting near .420 with runners in scoring position, and the best average in the league against right-handed pitching, set the stage for Hanley Ramirez. First pitch, two-seamer drifted over the middle of the plate, and Hanley scorches it by Blum, the third baseman, and picks up his 75th RBI.
Cantu takes a strike. Well, the whole thing kind of unraveled for the Astros when Sampson balked. They had walked Gload intentionally to load the bases and pitch to the rookie Coughlin. Cantu takes a strike.
That's amazing how that balk really changed everything in that inning.
By the way, Coughlin is now 1 for 3, and he's going to have a shot to extend his streak of consecutive games with more than 1 hit.
Yeah, he should have at least one more shot, one more at bat. Of course, remember, he walked and scored a run in the first inning. He's hit it 9 straight as it is. 20 for 41.
Sampson misses down low. There's nobody up in the Astros bullpen.
Yeah, right now it's all Chris Sampson.
Well, technically, there's nobody up. I mean, there are guys standing around. Cantu chops it to third. Blum goes the short way to second. Fascinating inning. The bottom of the 6th was. Hanley delivers 7-2. So a tag team effort needed by the Marlins bullpen. Ryan Sanchez was first over the ropes. Now comes Brendan Donnelly. You know, I was thinking about that last sequence. I know the Marlins have played 111 games, and this is the first time that the Astros have seen them. Surely they've heard about Hanley Ramirez.
Well, and they know the numbers. Cecil Cooper has all the numbers, the same ones we have. And he knows that Hanley's leading the league. He knows how well he's hitting with runners in scoring position. Evidently, all he wanted was the righty against the righty, as opposed to pitching to Nick Johnson.
Kaz Matsui in the 7th. Matsui fouls it off. Matsui is a guy that is approaching some pretty big milestones as far as Japanese players. Nick Johnson steals a hit away. He's 5 hits shy of reaching 2,000 combined in Japan and in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I don't mind when they make those comparisons because Matsui played a long time in Japan. I think Ichiro just went over 3,000 this year. The combined number of hits between Japanese baseball and here.
Here's Tejada. 2 hits for Tejada. Donnelly, the funny thing is
I like watching him pitch.
I do too, because you look at the radar gun and you're like, 88?
You think it's 98.
89?
And he did at one time. You and I were watching that, what was it, 05?
Yeah, Game 6 of the 2002.
And he came in and was bringing some gas.
Game 6 of the 2002 World Series.
Yeah.
Construction on the new Marlins ballpark is underway, and now is your chance to secure seats for today and in the future. With the Marlins Pick 15 plan, pick any 15 games of your choice, establish new ballpark seating priority, 1-877-MARLINS. And a reminder, tomorrow night is Email Tuesday. That's not really a reminder. Everybody knows that follows Marlins baseball knows that Tuesday night, Email Tuesday. But David Sampson is on tomorrow, and Tommy's got a list of stadium questions.
I wrote down those questions
for him.
Everyone knows it's Email Tuesday, including Hall of Famer Robin Roberts.
Yes. We got a chance to, what a thrill to meet him. I know you obviously know him. That was my first chance to meet him in Philadelphia. He watches our games from his home in Tampa. Maybe we'll get an email from Mike Schmidt this week. 6 pitches. Brendan Donnelly says, I throw outs. South Florida, Marlins are back home and on top. 7-2 in the bottom of the 7th.
And Chris Sampson is back out there. How about a 6-pitch inning for Brendan Donnelly?
It was a lengthy inning for Sampson in the 6th. 8 men came to the plate. And 3 of them scored. Oakland takes a strike.
They'll continue with the 0-2 story, Brendan Donnelly in the World Series. He was throwing.
Yeah, that's a game that's famous for the big comeback, the Scott Spezio home run, the Troy Glaus RBI double. The Angels were down 3-2. Big chopper. Makes it. Nicely done.
Starting to get those all of a sudden. Hey, how about the 6th inning? We'll kind of revisit things and let you see how things happen just in case you went out to get a quick bite to eat. John Baker got himself a base hit. Nice swing up the middle, a wild pitch. It wasn't the greatest of innings for Chris Sampson. Ground ball by Jeremy Hermida. Both runners advanced. So they decide to walk the pinch hitter. Then Chris Coughlin with a nice single into center field. Loads thrown out, but 1 run scores. Walking Nick Johnson mystified us with Hanley Ramirez coming up. He gets a base hit. Oh, by the way, there was a balk in that inning that was very important to set the whole thing up.
Chopper, Erstad gets the out. It was close. Yeah, even Erstad looks like it was close. Baker is aboard at first.
I was thinking about Dan on how all of a sudden things, some of those line drives maybe are falling. An infield base hit he gets. Good hustle. And he came close to beating that throw at second base, too.
Cody Ross has lined out, has a sac fly, and has walked. And Cody takes a strike. We check in with Frank Ford. Frank?
All right, guys, you were talking last inning about Kaz Matsui being 5 hits short of 2,000. Well, when he reaches that goal, he will gain entrance into the Meikuke Club, which is a Japanese society of honor for baseball players. It's limited to guys with 2,000 hits, starting pitchers with 200 wins, and relief pitchers with 250 saves. you can combine the stats for Japan and the United States to get into this Society of Honor. In fact, his former manager in Japan is over here in the States to present him with an award once he reaches that milestone. And I'm told, guys, the best analogy, it's sort of like the green jacket that the Masters winners get. They get this jacket that indicates their inclusion in this Society of Honor.
You know, that makes a lot of sense, Frank and Tommy, because today I noticed an awful lot of Japanese media here.
Photographers?
More than usually travels for a guy like Kaz Matsui. Now, a guy like Ichiro will have a lot of guys covering him.
That's precisely the reason. When he reaches that milestone, it's going to be a big ceremony that they're all here to record.
Matsui turns the double play. There will be no ceremony to signify the ending of the seventh. We'll just quietly go to the eighth. Off the list. Look at Brendan Donnelly looking to add to his total. Just as middle relievers keep their team in the game, you two can stay in the game with just for men hair color. And when you have a 6-pitch inning, you can stay in the game as well. You can stay in and pitch the eighth.
Yeah, I have a feeling that if it had been a longer pitch inning, Freddie would have gone one inning with each guy out of the bullpen. But when Brendan had that 6-pitch inning, he said, hey, you're back out there.
Jeff Blum. Yeah, we were watching that, what was it, 2 weekends ago? It was they were replaying that game that Donnelly pitched in the World Series. He ended up winning that game, and the Angels came from behind to win Game 6 and, of course, won Game 7 as well. I believe that was the game that Russ Ortiz, the starting pitcher for the Giants, as he
weren't the Angels down 5-0?
5-0.
5-0, yeah.
As Dusty Baker took him out of the game. I think either Dusty gave him the ball or he asked for the ball, thinking that that might be a game winner, a World Series winner. How about Ugla on his knees?
How about Dan Ugla? Oh, he has made some nice plays going to his left. Popped up, made a good throw to Nick Johnson. Has himself a 2-hit night. Full extension. Keeps a hold of it. Checks it out from his knees. Gets the out. Well, we talked about Dan Ugla and Hanley Ramirez. They've been both very solid defensively.
Here is Hunter Pence. Pence fouls that one back, and quickly it's 0-1. The Astros are 55 and 56. Lance Berkman has been on the disabled list. We know that Oswalt has been banged up, but it looks like he'll make the start tomorrow night.
He hasn't started. His last start was July 28th, so almost 2 weeks.
It's got to be frustrating for the Astros and their fans, because the Central this year is anyone's division. The Cardinals certainly haven't run away with it. The Cubs are 2 back. Houston is actually 6 back, being 1 under. And it's a Houston team that has one of the highest payrolls in baseball, $102 million.
When you told me that tonight, that blew me away.
That's 4th highest in the National League. The Mets are at $150 million. The Cubs at $134 million. The Phillies at $113, and the Astros at $102 million.
That's what you get with a lot of resumes on their roster.
They were able to get some of those resumes at a bargain price, though.
Yeah.
Guys like Erstad and Pudge. But Berkman's still making pretty good coin. Tejada's in the last year of his deal.
Alberto Arias not breaking the bank.
Carlos Lee, El Caballo, though, able to buy lots of cattle with what he pulls in. $18.5 million a year is what Carlos Lee gets. And I know that over the last couple of weeks, a lot of columns have popped up saying that the big money teams are dominating baseball this year. Well, here's one big money team that is not, and that's the Astros.
And one little money team that's not doing too badly.
Well, the Marlins, if they can win this ball game, if the bullpen can hold this 7-2 lead, would go to 59 and 53. Would pull within 3.5 games of the Phillies in the East. Donnelly strikes out Pence, who's running, and I'm not sure why. Baker caught that ball, but we appreciate the hustle nonetheless.
Yeah, you know what? If you think maybe that it was dropped, go ahead. Ball was down.
And Bake's glove hit the ground.
Yeah,
So
it was close.
I'll bet he heard it.
Yeah, he heard that. He took a peek.
You know what? I'd rather see that.
I give him credit. You should be applauding him and not booing him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You appreciate a guy like that that's busting it down to first.
Especially when you're getting beaten 7-2.
Here's Pudge. One for 3 is Rodriguez. Donnelly misses down low. Donnelly's role in this bullpen has been an important one. I think it grows in stature with the sore knee of Kiko Calero. Now that Luis Ayala has been sent back down. To left, Coughlin over to get it. Brian Sanchez has been outstanding in the Marlins pen. The Fish are waiting for the Hopper to get healthy and get off the disabled list.
Tim Wood serving a role now in the bullpen with a couple of those that you mentioned and not here.
I think the Marlins would like to stay away from Dan Meyer tonight. He threw on Sunday and on Saturday.
That'd be kind of nice to keep the 2 lefties quiet. Dan Meyer and Rangel Pinto.
Yes.
Pinto's not quiet now.
Erstad smacks that one in the gap, right center field, and it goes all the way to the Geico sign. It's going to score Pudge, and Erstad's got himself his 3rd RBI of the night. That goes with his 2-run home run.
Teammates, former teammates with the Angels. Erstad, Brendan Donnelly. He has had some good swings tonight. He's not going to get back to that form he was in 2000 when he had 240 hits. Hit 355 that year, but home run and double. And some good swings tonight from the veteran Darren Erstad.
spot is due up. It looks like Matt Cada.
Switch hitter.
Your next place pitch hitting for the pitcher Chris Hansen, number 36, Matt Cada. Cada pitch hitting.
So it is Cada. There are 2 outs here in the 8th. It's a 4-run game. Four for his last 14 as a pinch hitter. Cody Ross on his way back. Makes the catch. Donnelly gives up a run, but gives Freddie 2 innings. And the Marlins take a 4-run lead in the bottom of the 8th. A sweep at the hands of the Nationals, and then a sweep for the Marlins over the Phillies. There's Alberto Arias, and he comes into the ball game for Cecil Cooper, and he gets Jeremy Hermida, the pitcher's spot, and then Chris Coghlan.
So many times you get young relievers, and Arias kind of falls into that category. You got a good arm, good fastballs, you can get it up to mid-90s, sliders primarily, but can get deep into counts, throw a lot of pitches.
Here's Hermida. He's 0 for 2, and Arias delivers. Coghlan trying to extend that streak of games with consecutive hits. He has the Marlins record. He is 1 shy of the rookie record, and Hermida sneaks one down the third baseline. Into the corner it goes. El Caballo picks it up.
El Caballo kind of goes down to that left field corner like he's rounding up a herd on his cattle ranch.
It's a little shorter corner in Houston.
And a nice swing by Jeremy Hermida makes him 1 for 3 tonight. It's our checkers double of the game.
He doesn't have the Crawford boxes here.
No, it's a lot more space out here in left field. And left field in Houston, which we'll see soon enough, is not that deep.
Here is Helms. Had to feel good for Wes Helms to finish off the day yesterday with a 2-run homer in the 9th. Heck, it feels good for any of us to finish our day with a 2-run homer, you would expect. Bouncer up the middle. Tejada has it, and a sideways throw, and a nice play to rob Helms of a hit. But Hermida is moved to third. A professional at bat from Wes Helms.
Yeah, obviously he's trying to get one up the middle, but by staying back and doing what he did, he at least moved Hermida over to third. Here comes Chris Coghlan. with an opportunity to extend that streak.
Now, we asked our good friends at Stats, our statistical service, to do a little research. And they went back as far as 1954. And the longest since 54 is 11 games, Tony Perez. That one pops out of the glove of Pudge, and Hermida scores. That's going to be a pass ball on the Astros catcher.
You know, it looked certainly like he could have caught it. I mean, it may be a wild pitch, but there's an example of Arias, young pitcher, strong arm, can be all over the place.
You know what? They're calling it a wild pitch, but that may be by reputation.
That's because it's Ivan Rodriguez.
Yes.
Yes.
I would agree with you.
And Alberto Arias.
Right. I mean, if Roy Oswalt were on the mound and Humberto Quintero was behind the plate,
it'd be the opposite.
Okay. Anyways, further research says that Rogers, Hornsby, and 23 put together 13 consecutive games with multiple hits.
Well, you know what? It's 3-0, and he may not even have a chance to swing the bat. By the way, Pudge is second in the National League with 5 pass balls.
There's a strike. So Coughlin's 1 for 3, has scored twice. It's 8-3 Fish.
Nope. And even being patient, knowing the situation, but drawing the walk. So he's been on base 3 times tonight.
It looks like Coughlin's streak is going to come to an end.
You know what? All of a sudden, his on-base percentage is around 370 now. It's starting to go up immensely.
And I'm telling you, it has a lot to do, I think, with the guy standing at the plate.
Oh, yeah, we both agree on that.
I think not only Coughlin and Hanley have felt the effect of Nick Johnson, but I think the entire Marlins order. You know, you get a guy like Johnson on your team, and you know why he's here, because of his ability to get on base. And all of a sudden, it seems like everybody in the lineup, it kind of trickles down.
I'm sure John Baker has tapped into his knowledge, too. Chris Coughlin currently on base percentage at 366. So call me a liar for 4 points, but it's getting to 370.
I would never do that. I might say you're fudging a bit. Johnson fouls it back. I haven't done the math yet because I'm not very good at it. But
don't look to me.
But the note going into the night is that since Nick Johnson showed up, the top 3 hitters in the Marlins order, and Johnson's included with Coughlin and Hanley, their batting average at 424, their on-base percentage 511, and that's gone up tonight. I mean, Coughlin's been on 3 times. He's 1 for 3. Johnson's been rung up twice, but he's been on base twice.
He's 1 for 4.
Hanley is 2 for 4 himself. It's going to be interesting to talk tomorrow around the batting cage to both the Astros and Marlins and get a full read on the 6th inning and the walk to Nick Johnson, the intentional walk to face Hanley Ramirez. The Astros had Chris Coughlin at second base. There were 2 outs, and they intentionally walked Johnson to face Hanley, who had singled in his last at bat. Chris Sampson was on the mound, and Hanley hammered the first pitch he saw in the left field for an RBI single. But there were, and you could hear the reaction in the crowd of just this stunned, what? And the real surprise.
And you looked over and saw my look of bewilderment.
Yeah. Counts 1 and 2. But it's like Dick Williams, the advice that he gave me long ago. You never
Good
know.
advice.
You never know what a manager is up against. You never know what has gone on with the Astros bullpen.
Sampson may have had a whole lot of difficulty against lefties.
Yep.
And it's a move that certainly didn't cost the Astros the game. It certainly helped the Marlins.
Hanley reaches out, lines it into right. Pence. Good sliding catch by the Astros right fielder. Going to the ninth, the Marlins trying to capture game 1 of the series and win their 4th straight. Here comes Lindy. A 8-3 ball game. Marlins on top of the Astros. 9th inning comes quickly. Marlins will keep Wes Helms in the game, and he'll stay in and play third. And Cantu moves over. Nick Johnson comes out. Matt Lindstrom will go into Nick Johnson's spot in the order.
A good spot for Matt Lindstrom to come in and pitch. He's still trying to get back completely. He's thrown well the few times we've seen him since he's come back off the disabled list.
And it's the top of the order that Lindstrom gets here in the 9th. Michael Bourne, Kaz Matsui, and Miguel Tejada. Lindstrom fires a fastball for a strike.
Well, everybody else has thrown Bourne fastballs up, so you would expect Lindstrom to do the same.
This is the night where Rick Vandenhert started and went 5 innings. Bourne doesn't like that call. Darryl Cousins tells Bourne to get in the box. And it's 0-2. That one comes inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Vandenhert's 5 innings, and then the bullpen took over. Brian Sanchez, Brendan Donnelly, 2 innings from Donnelly. He did give up a run, but just the fact that he got 2 innings is big.
Helps the bullpen.
Keeps everybody a little fresher for tomorrow night.
And tomorrow night, Chris Volstad and Roy Oswalt.
Two coming. Bourne takes down low. Lindstrom's foot, flips it, and gets him. Cantu bare hands. Bourne is a fast man. Lindstrom, that's great. I mean, not only knock it down with your foot, but go get it yourself.
Cantu just moved over from third, made a great play in his own right. And now let's make sure everything's okay with Matt Lindstrom. The ball kicked off his foot. We were talking about that the other night. Look at out of the glove. It's bang, bang. He could have been safe. But we talked about it. Every time you see a ball deflected like that, it goes to a fielder. But a heads-up play by Lindstrom and a more heads-up play by Cantu. Let's see. Ah, he got him. Oh, that was great.
Here's Matsui. What an asset a healthy and effective Matt Lindstrom would be in these final 2 months of the season. If he's able to throw the split and the slider,
throw 96. I like when Lindstrom comes in the game, he lights up our Fox box. Those once it gets 96 or above, it gets red.
ground ball. Ugla crawls up and bites him. And Dan commits an error. Matsui is aboard.
Tell you what, it would have been a tough play. It was a good pitch, a slider. Matsui didn't hit it all that hard, and Dan kind of waited for it. And by the time it got to him, Matsui runs well up the line. Got to go get that one with the speed. With Bourne and Matsui, you got to go get those ground balls.
It brings Tejada up with a runner at first. 2 for 4 is Tejada. He's singled twice. I think one of the things the Marlins have learned about Leo Nunez, number one, he can close games. I don't think there's a question about that. But I think there is a question as to his durability and his ability to work 3 consecutive nights.
I think right now Freddie wants to stay away from that.
So if that's true, the Marlins are going to need somebody else to close some games, whether it's Lindstrom, whether it's Meyer, whether it's Calero.
Well, I think that's what's nice about the makeup of the bullpen. They have guys who can. Lindstrom can, Meyer can, Calero can. That'd be one thing if you didn't have anybody down there. They had no experience.
Boy, Tejada, a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and he turned on it.
Boy, Miguel Tejada, we told you, leading the league in hits, has 3 of them tonight. Here's that fastball down. He just drops ahead of the bat. Quickness. Opens the hips up a little bit.
He's always had such a quick, compact swing. Was an MVP.
2002 American League's MVP, had 34 home runs, 131 RBIs.
Mark Wiley out to tell Matt Lindstrom, you're making good pitches. The error by Ugla has Nunez up. Well, you'd like to see Lindstrom get through this game and not have to bring Nunez in, and that way, if you needed Leo for a couple of nights, the next 2 nights, you could use him.
Because you have to keep in mind, a right-hander's who you'd like, because 2 of their key hitters, if you get to that point in the game, are right-handed hitters. Tejada and Carlos Lee. That's why they have a different look and why they're a better team with Lance Berkman sitting in between those guys.
Lee is 0 for 3. 99. And of course, the amazing thing about Lindstrom was that even though he was hurt, he could still throw that hard. But now we're able to see him, since he's come back, throw his slider, even throw the splitter a little bit. We saw that this weekend. Drive to center. Cody Ross going after it, not going to get it. It's in the gap. Boy, great jump by Tejada. He is right behind Matsui, and they're both going to score.
Well, and that's exactly why Carlos Lee has been a big RBI man over his career. Doesn't try to pull everything. He takes what he's given, and he's given a fastball middle of the plate. Doesn't matter how hard you throw it. Guys like Carlos Lee are going to hit it hard.
Watch Tejada right behind him.
Yeah, he's yelling. He got a great jump. He had a little different angle than Matsui had, so he saw that ball was not going to be caught.
Freddie's on his way out, and he's going to come get Lindstrom.
And you didn't want to see him have to bring in Leo Nunez.
So Nunez comes out of the bullpen, and it is a save situation. And it's also a Marooney called to the bullpen.
When you need a car, truck or van, leave them a call.
Out. Jeff Blum and Leo Nunez.
By the way, one thing I think answered by that shot of Matt Lindstrom, Rich and I were talking about, could the ball that came back and hit him on the foot have had an effect?
First pitch swinging, ground ball to Ugla. 2 outs.
And I think just by him sitting there and not getting attended to answers that, but also the fact he was throwing 98 miles an hour. Hey, remember the save the other night where Nunez came in and got 3 outs in what, 5 pitches?
Yes.
So there's a nice one there.
The tying run on deck when Nunez came into the ball game, and that qualifies him for a save. Otherwise, it's 3 runs or less, and you get the final 3 outs of the 9th. Or if you pitch the last 3 innings of a game, regardless of the score, and you win, you get a save.
And your
as well.
team wins.
And your team wins, you get a save that way.
That's always a debatable one, but I always feel if the guy's pitched 3 innings, he's helped save the bullpen in a game with a big score.
Nunez throws a strike. So Leo's thrown 3 pitches. They've all been strikes. Nunez fell over.
Yeah, he has that max effort, violent type delivery, whippy type delivery, which gives him great arm action on his changeup. And there's all that delivery, all that action, that violent follow through, and that was a changeup. That wasn't a fastball.
And normally he doesn't do the cartwheel.
Yeah.
A balk. It's been a popular call tonight. Lee trots home.
Well, I'm guessing he started and stopped as well. But you're right. You rarely see a balk call. We've seen 2 tonight. Let's see if he starts. He's looking.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
His foot was on the rubber.
Yeah.
That's a balk.
That one was even more visible. Well, he's having trouble with his footing. It looked like he really slipped on that pitch.
Yeah, Hanley's going to come in for a little.
He's going to try to calm him down. Yeah.
A little confab here. See, he usually falls off, but he doesn't. He doesn't do the handstand.
Yeah, he's not able to plant. It looked like a little slip on that front foot there as he started to plant that left foot.
So it's a 2-run game, and the count's 2-2. Still 2-2.
And you have Pudge Rodriguez on deck.
Hey, after what the Marlins saw in Washington, after what they went through with their 2 come-from-behind walk-off wins at home against Atlanta with the Glode walk-off shot, against the Cubs with the Ross walk-off shot, everybody knows no lead safe. Got him. Nunez throws 7 pitches. No cartwheel here, but a big win for the Fish. They follow up the sweep of the Phillies with a Game 1 win of the Houston Astros. Rick Vandenhert gets through 5, and then the bullpen takes over as the Fish jump on Brian Moeller. Hanley with a couple of hits. John Baker with a big 2-run double. And the Marlins win this ballgame. 8-6 the final. Marlins win it 59-53, 3.5